We are not facing the death of human thought, but its possible historical acceleration. We live tired, not physically tired, mentally tired. The world has become expensive, fast, and demanding. Everything requires attention. Everything demands performance. You have to eat well, train, work well, think well, feel well, relate well, organize your home, organize yourself inside. The pressure is constant, and it makes no distinction between what matters and what is trivial. In a world like this, any tool that allows mental load to be delegated becomes almost inevitable. Not for comfort, but for cognitive survival. That's where artificial intelligence appears. As a way to offload minor tasks, organize information, gain time, breathe a little. And yet, as soon as it appears, someone says, "It's dangerous. It will replace you. You'll stop thinking." But almost no one asks the more uncomfortable question. Does someone who depends on AI lose sovereignty because AI takes it away, or because they fail to exercise it? For many, all of this feels like a real threat. Artificial intelligence advances fast, learns fast, responds fast. And the question arises on its own. What is left for the human when a machine seems to do everything better? But that fear is born from a deep confusion. Artificial intelligence has no inner conflict. It doesn't feel that uncomfortable noise when something doesn't add up. An idea doesn't break inside it. A question doesn't get stuck in its chest. The human does. Human thought doesn't begin with answers. It begins with friction, with discomfort, with a vague sense that something doesn't fit. Thinking is holding that tension without anesthetizing it. And that is something no AI can do for you. AI answers the human questions. AI organizes. The human suspects. AI optimizes. The human doubts. And in that doubt lies sovereignty. The danger is not that AI thinks too much. The danger is that humans stop questioning themselves, questioning others, and also, and above all, questioning what AI returns. Because a clear answer is not the same as a true one. Because an elegant solution can be intellectually empty. Because accepting without friction is a soft form of surrender. And in thinking, exercising sovereignty is one thing only: not giving up internal conflict. Thinking is not accumulating ideas. Thinking is putting them at risk, making them collide, forcing them to show their limits, exposing them to the possibility of being wrong. Thinking is, at its core, a dialogue. An idea that meets no resistance doesn't sharpen. It deforms or turns into dogma. Thought needs opposition to exist, just as muscle needs a load to grow. This is where artificial intelligence can enter, not as authority, not as a substitute, but as ideological counterpressure. AI is not there to decide for the human. It is there to return human ideas in a clearer, more ordered, more explicit form, to expose them, not to validate them, to extract them, not to close them. In doing so, it accelerates a process that has always been human, discarding what is weak, modifying what is incomplete, consolidating what withstands analysis. Because thinking better means learning to discard what doesn't work. Artificial intelligence allows thought to be seen from the outside, to hear itself, but the final decision, what to keep, what to correct, what to reject, remains a human responsibility. Used this way, AI does not impoverish thought, it makes it more demanding. It forces justification, precision, and prevents vagueness from hiding behind comfortable intuitions. And in that process, artificial intelligence can be a powerful tool. Not because it thinks for us, but because it forces us to think better. This way of thinking and writing, mediated, assisted, trained by tools, is not new. What is new is the myth that hides it. The figure of the author as a solitary genius, the absolute creator of a closed, original, self-sufficient work, is a modern invention, a construction of Romanticism. Before that, for centuries, thinking and writing were collective acts. Texts were born from dialogue, dictation, commentary, and constant correction. The obsession was not with intellectual ownership, but with potency, coherence, and the capacity to endure. For example, Homer was not a modern writer. He recited, varied, adjusted. The Iliad and the Odyssey circulated for generations before being fixed. There was no original text. There was a voice sustained over time. Jesus wrote nothing. He thought by speaking to specific people. And still, no one thinks Christianity is the work of the evangelists. Authority lies in Jesus, not in those who transcribed him. Buddha did not write either. His words were memorized and repeated for centuries. Only much later were they compiled. Buddhism does not depend on a manuscript, but on a transmitted experience. Socrates left no texts. He thought through dialogue. Everything we know comes from others, and yet no one doubts that he authored his thought. Not writing does not make him less of a philosopher. In all these cases, the authority of the discourse did not come from material authorship, but from being the living source from which that thought emerged. And this is not only a matter of the ancients. Many politicians, economists, jurists, and public speakers do not write word for word the texts they sign. Speeches, books, columns, and documents are born from conversations, collective drafts, dictation, editors, advisors, and successive revisions, and yet no one doubts their authorship. No one says those ideas aren't theirs. Why? Because we recognize something essential. There is a line of thought there, a worldview, an intellectual coherence that remains stable regardless of who executes the writing. Authorship is not in the keyboard, it is in the orientation. A text may pass through many hands, but its meaning does not dissolve. On the contrary, it sharpens. It is tested, it is refined. The idea remains recognizable because it responds to a clear source. In these cases, the author remains the point of origin of meaning, not the operator of every word. And this forces us into some discomfort, because in this sense, the author is not the owner of the idea, not in the way we tend to believe. Just as an actor is spoken by the character they perform, an author is spoken by the idea that passes through them. The idea takes them, uses them, expresses itself through them in a particular form at a particular historical moment. But it does not belong to them like an object. They cannot store it in a drawer, they cannot prevent it from reappearing elsewhere. Artificial intelligence does not create this situation, it exposes it. In doing so, AI de-romanticizes authorship. It decentralizes it, and it returns the focus to where it always should have been, to the text and to the kind of thinking that text articulates. The discussion stops revolving around who said something, that almost childish reflex of looking for a proper name, and shifts towards more serious questions. What was said, how it was thought, from which assumptions, and with what consequences. Delegating form is not abdicating thought. It is choosing where to place energy. When AI takes care of the formal development of a text, the human does not lose ideas, they gain time to research, to doubt, to compare, to argue, and that, not writing itself, is the true core of thought. Ideas are not born when we type, they are born much earlier. They emerge through long, uncomfortable processes, sometimes silent, that can last months or years. Along that path, references expand, questions sharpen, interests deepen. That is where a mind is formed. Writing remains a fundamental skill. It must be learned. It must be endured. Only someone who knows how to write can choose to delegate writing without emptying thought. But when the content remains human and AI assists with form, there is no intellectual impoverishment. There is intensification. More ideas circulate, more debates emerge, knowledge accelerates. This is not just a richer individual experience, it is a historical acceleration. If the human remains sovereign over content, the questions, the problems, the hypotheses, the result is not just more production, it is more thought circulating at the same time. That accelerates intellectual and scientific processes. Not because AI thinks better, but because it reduces the inertia that once slowed the exchange of ideas, writing, organizing, publishing, responding. We are not facing the death of human thought, but its possible historical acceleration. AI does not replace the engine, it reduces friction in the system. And as in any system, less friction means more speed. Artificial intelligence does not think for us. It reveals something far more uncomfortable. Who is still thinking and who had already given up.